The clown car has arrived, and this time all of NVIDIA's 50 series partner models have come spilling out of it.
Thanks to NVIDIA Blackwell architecture.
NVIDIA just this week announced its 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti, and 5070. We have a separate news video on that. Those range from $550 to $2,000 for the 5090, and the rated total graphics power ranges as you'd expect, but it goes up to 575 watts for the 5090, which is really interesting, and that prototype we just took apart kind of sets the stage for some of NVIDIA's Founders Edition solutions it's applying for this next generation. But there are still a lot of partner models. We're going to be talking about those today and going through some of the most ridiculous marketing that you'll see all year. But also there's some pretty interesting designs in here. And then for the Founders Edition specifically, we have a separate deep dive interview with Malcolm Gutenberg from NVIDIA that's coming up soon. He's the one who asked me to bring back the clown car quote. He really likes that quote. But Malcolm will be joining for a super technical thermal engineering deep dive on the FE card specifically. So that'll be later. Let's get into it. Before that, this video is brought to you by Thermaltake and the Tower 600 case. The Tower 600 is a vertical case design with Thermaltake's unique showcase presentation, which stands out further with its separate chassis stand kit that rotates the case for an angled showpiece. The Tower 600 is heavily ventilated around the sides, has a ton of radiator support including up to 420mm solutions, and offers 2 GPU mounting options for display and cooling optimization. It also comes in colors not commonly seen in cases. Learn more about the Tower 600 at the link in the description below. MSI is up first for partner models. Let's hear it from them.
The RTX 50 series boasts a revolutionary leap in AI capabilities thanks to NVIDIA Blackwell architecture. Thanks to NVIDIA.
Ah yes, NVIDIA. We're always excited to hear about NVIDIA cards, just like when we get to hear about AMD and MSI. We do, however, miss talking about EVGA GPUs. So, now that we've heard from MSI about its NVIDIA cards, let's get into some of the more MSI models, like the MSI SUPRIM.
With a brush, tasteful, understated, groundbreaking, the crown jewel, our cutting-edge, integral, advanced, fantastic, unparalleled, premium striking, darker design, premium craftsmanship, fractured lines that are set across a dark shroud, diffused RGB lights, reminiscent of airship boosters, unmatched long, intense gaming sessions, complex AI workloads.
But don't worry, they've innovated with innovative, groundbreaking shapes. They call it the circle.
Circles are perfect, unbroken, infinite. Each one speaks of precision. 3 of them can blend to deliver form and power in perfect harmony. With 3 familiar, perfect circles.
Wow! Revolutionary MSI NVIDIA circles. Anyway, so MSI's most interesting 5090s are the unnamed special editions. And judging by that stylized eye, they might be bringing back the Lightning brand. There's 2 versions, both utilizing a custom central PCB and dual flow-through, similar to the Founders Edition design. So far, MSI is the only company we've seen trying this approach. The liquid-cooled version looks massive and will have 2 internal 120mm liquid cooler radiators sandwiched between front and rear fans, totaling 4 fans and push-pull. We do wonder about the trade-off here between thicker radiators with single fans, or even just thicker single fans, versus thinner rads with push-pull thin fans, but we might get this one in for testing. I'll try and buy it or something. In this TPU image though, we can make out the central block and the tube connections. Now, MSI loves circles so much that, believe it or not, this particular model will have 5 fans, and not one of them isn't a circle. But they're not just any fans. These are MSI's claw-textured Stormforce fans with circular arc structure. That's right, you know what that means. Jeremy, do we know what that means? Each end of the card has the same push-pull setup, but with an air cooler, with a central fan on the front like a traditional GPU. MSI says the fans are independently adjustable and that it'll cool both your GPU and the system. Next is the new Vanguard SoC design that has
aerodynamics and fractured lines that are set across a dark shroud, as well as diffused RGB lights, reminiscent of airship boosters.
We've been waiting for that familiar airship booster look. It took them long enough. MSI will have a, quote, launch edition that comes with 1 limited edition Lucky figurine from the blind box of Lucky. There's 9 basic editions for losers and 1 secret edition, which we guess is the 5-star if using gotcha brain rot gamba logic. Since this is the limited banner event, you'll need to spend at least $20,000 to get them all, but only if you don't get any duplicates. Curiously, MSI printed 24GB GDDR7 on the side of its 5080 box seen in its own video. Since we know that 5080 has 16 gigabytes of memory and the 5090 has 32 gigabytes of memory, this is either a gigantic typo or a hint, probably accidental, that NVIDIA was at least at one point considering this configuration, if not maybe working on it for a refresh or something. And we have seen leaks about such a configuration. MSI's lineup is rounded out with the return of the SUPRIM air and liquid cooled cards with brushed metal shrouds and, quote, automotive grade coolant. Now, we're assuming what they mean by automotive grade coolant is propylene glycol. Hopefully the mixture is not actually like automotive grade coolant, because those are mixed such that the low temperature is really low and the high temperature is really high, and the end result is in something like a video card, the actual cooling capacity will be worse if it is truly an automotive grade mixture, because you don't need antifreeze in these GPUs. Broadly speaking, you want the distilled water percentage makeup of the total mixture to be as high as possible, so it gets some of the low temperature for storage, but it still has all the cooling capacity. Anyway, pedantism aside, they also have standard 3-fan gaming cards like the Gaming Trio and the Ventus 3X variants. Additional versions for the 5080 include the Gaming Trio White and the Champagne Gold Inspire 3X. ASUS is up next, and jumping in with the ASUS ROG Astral, we'll let ASUS's possibly AI written and possibly AI narrated design story video play. Testament is one of those LLM flag words along with the serial comma. Here it is.
At ROG, we're driven by a deep desire to innovate and push the limits. The new ROG Astral Series graphics cards are a testament to that dedication. The series is inspired by the mysteries of the universe and the captivating power of astronomical wonders like black holes.
We assume they're talking about the black hole that you'll throw an astronomical amount of money into. Did you see? The metal-bodied Astral has 4 fans, with one on the backside on the flow-through area, sandwiching what ASUS calls a more densely packed fin stack. It's going to utilize a phase change pad on the core, so it's not liquid metal like on the Founders Edition, but they are moving to what pretty much everyone's using for higher-end cards and has been for a little bit. One of the interesting things here with the stacked fans and push-pull type setups is these could lead to a beat frequency phenomenon with undesirable acoustics characteristics, depending on how they've configured the fan RPMs to behave related to each other. And if you're curious about that, you can watch our technical interview with Noctua's Jacob Dellinger previously, where he walks us through how beat frequencies form and what that sort of means. So the Astral also has a conformal coating on the PCB, and this is kind of interesting. It could make it an easy option for liquid nitrogen XOC. ASUS also has a liquid-cooled Astral LC that seems like a spiritual successor to the 4090 Matrix from the last generation, with a 38mm thick 360mm rad and a single VRM fan. Maybe we can sign this one with Roman next year. Je mehr du kaufst,
desto mehr kannst du sparen.
That's right. The tough 5090 design is generally what we would expect. It's ready to block, load, and dominate. It's ASUS's words, not ours. With its gunmetal gray metal shroud and standard flow-through option. It has, quote, military-grade components. And every time we've read those marketing words on a box, those of you in our audience who've been in or are in the military have left your insights about what that phrasing truly means. They also say it has 12 heat pipes and a vapor chamber with a 3.6 slot design, which would actually be effective for cooling if it's all integrated properly. ASUS's TUF series GPUs were actually some of the better ones that we've tested in the past. ASUS also says that it has axial tech fans, which are, quote, up to 23% more air than standard fans. And we don't know what that means because to us, standard fans are axial fans, but okay. The page advertises, once again, military-grade MOSFETs and chokes, but this time it says they're certified, We hope they put the certificate in the box. ASUS says the MOSFETs deliver, quote, rock-solid power to the GPU, which is strange since rocks are probably more synonymous with ground, and they have tough capacitors, better than weak ones, obviously, that reportedly have better temperature tolerance and longer lifespan than whatever a standard or a weak capacitor is, by their definition. ASUS also notes 80,000 hour life ratings on its dual ball bearing fans. Frankly, we're disappointed that they're not using certified military-grade dual tough balls. Interestingly, ASUS describes its max contact design of the cold plate as increasing the surface area of the cold plate by 5%, which it says improves performance by up to 2 degrees. This is one of the more interesting claims. It looks like the surface might have some light variation in the finish to create this additional surface area. ASUS also says its fans spin in opposing directions. We've seen this before, like on Gigabyte cards in the past, and ASUS says that the fans stay off if below 50 degrees. At the 5080 level, a Prime card gets added to the mix, which has a very standard 2.5 slot triple fan cooler. It's actually kind of on the thinner side compared to the last generation, so that's nice to see. It does, however, appear to have a plastic shroud. The cooler also uses a vapor chamber and phase change pad, and likewise it has dual tough balls. The Prime still carries a dual V BIOS switch, which we always like to see on partner models because it's at least redundancy for tweaking. This is good value add over the FE cards. ASUS claims that these fans stop spinning below 50 degrees and that they have a, quote, 0 dB technology, known to the rest of the world as a fan curve. The card has a moderate-sized flow-through area, but keeps the size down overall. Strix is relegated to the 5070 Ti this time. It's pretty surprising because this sub-brand dates back to at least the NVIDIA 900 series that we can remember, and it's always been associated with ASUS's flagship GPUs. The good news is that ASUS has now gone to 4 significant figures with its Strix design because it has a 3.275 slot design. Not 3.3, not 3.28, 3.275. Finally, the somewhat popular Pro Art line is nowhere to be found here, at least at the time we're writing this. Doesn't preclude it from coming later. Next up is Gigabyte, which starts off by getting its partner's name right.
We are thrilled to work with NVIDIA.
That's good, because otherwise we'd have to refer to them as Gigabit for the rest of this section. The ARIS Extreme Waterforce WB has a built-in leak detection system that can be seen here as the gold trace around the ports and internal gasket. We might actually buy one to test this. Kind of interesting. Gigabyte also has a somewhat rocky reputation with these in the past, as its pre-block 3080 had aluminum internals that quickly corroded in copper and brass custom loops. The Extreme Waterforce non-WB has a closed-loop liquid cooler with a 360mm radiator. One interesting aspect is that Gigabyte has opted for liquid metal TIM between the die and the cold plate, like the NVIDIA Founders Edition. The company claims that it has
industry-leading quadruple protection system, including aerospace-grade PCB coating, UV resin, and a dual layer of fans.
So this should protect from the electrically conductive TIM. It's also got what Gigabyte's calling
thermal conductive gel
in place of thermal pads. We don't know if this is a literal gel or if what they sort of mean here is a putty, like we've seen in some other applications, such as EVGA's cards. The Aorus Master comes in both standard black and white ice variations, as they call it, and it features the totally revolutionary Hawk fan. And no, we're not going to make that joke. It's over, it's dumb, it was always dumb, and we're not going to ruin our streak of not referencing it by referencing it here. Except to make the point that we're not going to reference it. The Hawk fans are apparently inspired by aerodynamics of an eagle's wing, even though it's the Hawk fan and not the Eagle fan, and they aren't nearly as cool as the bionic shark fans of the RTX 40 series from Gigabyte. Gigabyte's timeline is also concerningly off here. It was only 3 years ago that Gigabyte introduced its bionic shark fans, but now they're already moving to Hawks? As we all know, sharks predate Hawks. They're from the Chondrichthyes family. They come from the Devonian period about 400 million years ago, obviously. And hawks are from theropods. It's like 150 million years ago. So as you can see, obviously, prepared by my diagram here, it's durable. You can go to the store to buy one. Gigabyte should be on the Ray family, not on the Hawk family. Hawks aren't even anywhere near this. They're like 66 million years ago for sort of the beginning of Hawks. we're off by like 333 1,999,997 years. Gigabyte. The RS Master will also come with an optional extra fan that sits on the back of the flow-through area to move more air. This is, again, very interesting and something we definitely want to test. This one could work better than the built-in rear fan of the ASUS Astral, since it looks like the full-thickness fan and doesn't cut into the actual fin stack to exchange surface area for fan area. Instead of liquid metal, the Master uses what they call, quote, composite metal grease that, quote, leverages high thermal conductivity of liquid metal and the ease of application of silicon grease. No E on the end of that. They might mean silicone here, but either way, we can guess that this might mean they're using an older school conductive thermal paste. Down the stack from these are the Gaming OC and the Windforce models, and thankfully, they still have the Hawk fans, despite the evolutionarily inaccurate timeline. Now next up is PNY. PNY has two designs right now for the 5080 and the 5090. These look identical apart from the presence of RGB on the ARGB model. They're both standard looking triple slot, triple fan cards with an unfortunately blocked off flow through area on the backplate. Despite Vince Lucido's considering joining PNY for video card design late last year, there aren't any Kingpin or Kingpin-esque GPUs announced at launch. Vince is still deciding on his level of involvement for a GPU partner and is trying to find the right match. Yeah, what about PNY team has you excited?
They are keen to dive into the extreme overclocking. And you know, ASUS, MSI, Galax, the other companies, they already do it. Too many cooks in the kitchen, right? I want to go somewhere where I can actually make a big impact. And I kind of feel like PNY might be that company.
So does that mean Kingpin cards might be back?
It might.
Okay.
It might. It might. Okay. There's a pretty good chance.
Now we'll likely have the exclusive if he decides to make a serious move in this space, or if he keeps moving forward with PNY in some capacity. So we'll keep you all posted. In the meantime, though, you can check out some of his e-bike builds and his tactical and electrical mods he does on those over on his All About Kingpin channel. Okay, we're gonna start stepping through these more quickly now. We've gotten through the most absurd ones. Zotac is launching the Amp Extreme Infinity and the solid 5090s, which is better than liquid or gas ones. It's adopting a more angular look with metal shroud construction. The former has an infinity mirror on the end of the card, and the latter has minimal RGB. Zotac's Infinity has a relatively large flow-through area. On to Galax. For the 40 series, Galax had the Serious Gaming line, which is not returning for the 50 series. Presumably, that's because the 50 series is for the not serious, or perhaps even silly gamer. In fact, Galax has the 5080 EX Gamer, so they've moved on from serious gaming to X gaming, a sad commentary on the realities of life. We look forward to their future RTX 6090 9-5 and their RTX 7090 Midlife Crisis, which comes with a convertible shroud and a new waifu backplate. Palit is up next. Last time, Palit promised absolute dark power with its 4090. Now, with the 5090 GameRock, the best it can do is a chameleon panel with optical camouflage. The 5080 Gaming Pro is mostly standard, but features support for 3D printing aesthetic add-ons to the shroud. Palit also has a new OC tool called ThunderMaster, which is a badass name. We look forward to getting Tech Thor to join us to use the ThunderMaster for our next XOC stream. Gainward's 40 series Night Baron is mysteriously and depressingly absent for the 50 series. Maybe we scared him off. In his place, we have the Phantom, an all-black design without RGB, and the Phoenix.
The Phoenix series draws inspiration from the mythical bird of rebirth.
And that's actually from Gainward. We didn't make that up. So, cool. Gainward says it features, quote, a Phoenix Wing-inspired design and layered contours that, quote, sports a bold, dimensional aesthetic and reflects, quote, its dynamic personality. Frankly, there's a lot to unpack here, and we're not Gainward's therapists, so better to move on. Inno3D is brutal by nature and 201% committed to you. Quote, we are brutal by nature in everything we do and are 201% committed to you for the best gaming experience in the world, end quote. In fact, they're so committed that they wrote this sentence twice on the same page. In between its concerningly obsessive language, Inno3D is also trying to show that it's chill when it needs to be. The 5090 iChill X3 and the standard X3 are more very large air-cooled designs. There's also a white version and a water-cooled iChill Frostbite with an alpha-cool block pre-installed. Maxsun is doing what Maxsun does best, which is putting anime onto GPUs. The iCraft Cyber Magic Girl Zwei, which, in conflict with the name, as video cards points out, has not 2, but 3 fans, is actually the name of the anime thing on the card. And unfortunately, the flow-through area is largely obstructed by whatever this is. Colorful rounds out the list of NVIDIA board partners with some models that look like the company is taking a more serious approach. Models include the Vulcan, Neptune, Advanced, and Ultra W, which is a completely disconnected naming scheme and has seemingly no relation between one and the next. Interestingly, none of them are marked as 5090s. Might have to do with export controls, but we're not sure. We'll quickly cover water blocks. AlphaCool announced that there will be both core branded blocks for various partner models and single slot ES blocks for server use. EK is uncharacteristically but not unexpectedly silent for this launch, except for an enterprise solution it says will be compatible with 50 series GeForce cards. It seems like AlphaCool might be stepping up to fill the void left by EK in the consumer-facing market. And broadly speaking, we haven't yet seen any Founders Edition water blocks. If you see one, let us know as soon as you do in the comments somewhere, because that would be really interesting since the PCB is so small and square that it could look pretty damn cool with the block on it. As a final interesting entry, Cooler Master showed off a few engineering sample coolers for 50 series GPUs that support both thick and thin standard case fans with an adjustable shroud. This is a really interesting setup that we'd like to test out. Current reporting indicates that these will be for Cooler Master pre-built PCs only, in a similar setup to Acer's Predator GPUs. And so that's it. The clown car is now fully unloaded, and you can pick between all the various clown options you have for the 50 series. Now, to be fair to them, there's some actually pretty interesting ones in here. There are some real attempts at advancing thermal solutions spread across all the inanity and silliness and marketing that's everywhere. But hopefully you've learned something, because I certainly did, in theory. Anyway, that's it for this one. Check back for more. I don't know how many of these we're going to get in. We're going to try and buy some of these. If you buy some of the 5090 cards especially, and you want to send it in on loan for us to look at, take apart, whatever, or just resell it to us at the same retail price if you're not happy with it for whatever reason, then email us because we're going to try and get some of these in. I will buy as many as I can. Our only limitation is going to be if they're in stock or not, I think. We don't really work with most of these companies these days, or at least not for sampling. So that means we'll source most of our own. And that means we could use your help in spotting them when they go up so that we can buy them and get them in. Or borrow them from you, and we'll figure something out in email. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. As always, subscribe for more. You can go to store.gamersnexus.net if you'd like to help us directly, like by grabbing one of these Disappointment Tour t-shirts. Or you can grab one of our dice sets with the Snowflake the Cat dice or the Inductor e-waste dice that have objects embedded within sharp edge resin dice, and the wooden box that you've seen multiple times in this video in what was actually not intentional product placement. That's it. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.